Okay, so this is our fourth lesson in our series of lessons on school and our second lesson on the present tense. So last lesson we learned what the present tense is and how you turn any verb into the right person in the present tense, what we call regular present tense verbs. So now we're going to use these in today's lesson in the context of school. So talking about what I like, but turning that verb like into he likes or she likes or they like or we like. So we can talk about what other people like or don't like in school. Okay, so if you're working in your books for today's date, the title, chez moi, at my house, or you can do this on paper or on the sheet. So first of all, let's just have a quick recap of how we turn our verbs into the present tense. If you have not watched the previous lesson, today's lesson won't make much sense. You do need to make sure you've done that lesson first. So whenever we want to turn anything into the present tense, we start with what's called the subject pronoun. In other words, the person, like I or you or he or she. Then we have a stem, and we get that stem by taking the verb called the infinitive, the type of verb you'd find in the dictionary, and we take off the last two letters, because the last two letters mean to, like to eat or to drink. Then we add on a new ending, so these endings here, depending on the letters you took off and depending on who you're talking about. So here's a few examples. If I looked up watch in the dictionary, I'd find regarder with an ER on the end with this ending. So I take that ER off, and then to say I watch, I take I, and I need to add an E to it. If it had been he watches, it would be il with an E as well. If it was we watch, then it'd be nous, regard, on with an ONS instead of an E. With this verb here, finir, it's IR that I took off. So it's what we call an IR verb. So I finish is spelled like this, with these letters on the end. And I answer is an RE verb. So we had to take off RE and add an S to the end. So we did a bit of practice with it last week. And now what we're going to do is do a few different activities to practice, first of all, the people, practice recognising the endings, and then practice putting them into the context of school. Okay, so task 1 is you are going to match up what we call the subject pronouns, in other words, the people, with their correct translation. Okay, so all I want you to do is either write out in your books the French and then the English next to it, or you can download the worksheet and draw in lines to match them up. Okay, so pause the video and pause when you're ready to check. Okay, so we've got je is I, it's J apostrophe before a vowel. Tu is you if it's singular, if there's one person. Il is he, elle is she, nous is we, vous is you if it's plural, if it's a group. And then il, look, I've added an S to he, so I made he more than one. In other words, they, and the same for she with an S on the end, made it they. So task 1 done, we remember the people a little bit better now. Task 2, so in your books you can either, or on paper, just fill in the person that's missing, or you can do this on the worksheet and get rid of the line and type in the person that's missing. So look at this box here to remind you about the people, and look at these endings here, or you can use the works from last lesson to help you. So you're going to look at the end of this verb. It's already been what we call conjugated. It's already had the ending taken off and a new ending put on. So if I look at this, it's got ES there. If I come over here, I can see ES is a tu ending. Therefore, the person I want to fill in here is tu. Okay, so what you need to do is fill in the person that's missing by looking at the end. So look at the ONS, look at which verbs end in ONS, and then put the right person there to make it make sense. Okay, so pause, complete this activity, and when you're ready to move on, unpause to check. Okay, so mark your work in a different colour now. So you should have nous, because on is only ever for nous verbs, so we go down, that means. Vous rangez, that's the ending that only ever goes with you plural. You could either have il or elle for this one, il or elle for this one too. tu, il or elle, because this one, it might be a bit tricky, none of them end in a D, do they? Which means it's the one that's had the letters taken off, the RE, and nothing else added back on. Well done if you worked that out. And finally, nu. So mark yours in a different colour, and when you're ready for task 3, unpause. Okay, task 3, you're now doing the opposite. So you've got the person, you've got the stem. The bit in red shows you what's been chopped off. So at the end of coupe, it used to be coupé. I've taken off the ER, so it no longer means I to cut, but it doesn't quite mean I cut yet until I add the special ending for I with ER verbs. So that would be E, okay? So what I want you to do is pause the video in your book, so you can write in the letter that's missing, or you could write out the whole thing, or on the worksheet, replace the line with the ending that's missing. So make sure you're looking in the right column. So number 2, it's an IR verb. The IR has been chopped off, réfléchir. So you're going to add one of these endings, not one of these or one of these. You're adding one of these endings, and I'm talking about il, he. So that should show you now which ending it is. So pause the video, complete those with the right endings, and then pause when you're ready to check. So, number 2 then is IT, réfléchis, nous pensons, il ou elle mange, vous choisissez, tu laves, elle rougit, and je descends. So mark yours in the right colour, in a different colour, or fill in ones you've missed in a different colour, and then move on to the next one. Okay, task 4 is just translating into English. You're not putting any French for this one. Let's just remind ourselves about the opinion. So you so far in your books or in your work online, wherever you've been putting your work, have got I like, I love, I don't like, and I hate. All of these. J'aime, j'adore, je n'aime pas, je déteste. They come from these verbs here. Aimer is to like, adorer is to love, détester is to hate. And then this one here is the negative of aimer. So that's where they've come from. And here they've all had the ER taken off them and a new ending put on. So what I want you to do is in your books or on the sheet, write the English for what these mean. So look at what they are similar to. We've got nous and détestons. So it used to be détester, and I put a new ending on and who is the person. So write what they all are in English. Pause, and then when you're ready to check, unpause. Okay, so hopefully we know number 1 because we've learned it before, I hate. Then here the verb looks very similar, but the ending is different because the person is different. And if you look back previously in the lesson or last lesson, we know that nous is we, so we hate. Then instead of j'aime, we've got elle before the M. So she likes. Tu adores, so similar to this, but it's got a different ending because it's got the special ending for tu. You love. And finally, they don't like. Okay? Right, now you're going to do the opposite. So you worked out the English for these. Now you're going to be working out the French. So remember there are 3 parts to putting things in the present tense. First of all, work out the person. So I'm telling you it's the masculine form of they. Then find hate as the verb, the whole verb, so to hate. Take off the last 2 letters. Then add on a new ending. So the ending that goes with they, that's in the ER column. All of these are in the ER column. They're all ER verbs. So you don't need to look at the middle column of the endings or the last one. It's just looking at the first column. So if you haven't got your work open from last lesson, below the video on Moodle, you could go to the slide that's the second slide where we've got the endings, or you can rewind the video to have a look where we put the endings, to find the different endings and the people. So put all of these into the correct French. When you're ready to check them, unpause. Okay, so here we go. Number 1. They in French when it's masculine is il. Then we had to take détester, to hate, take off the bit that means to. And then for they verbs, we add an ENT on the end. So that's what it should look like. He likes, he is il. Aimer is to like, take off the last 2 letters, and it's an E that you add for he verbs. We like, nous aimons, or you could have done on aime. They love, if it's about a group of girls, elles adorent, and she loves, elle adore. Okay, notice I'm not saying the NT here, it's actually silent. If you made a couple of mistakes with that, don't worry, that is tricky, okay? It's working out, right, have I got the right person? Have I taken off the last 2 letters, and then I've got to put a new ending on? So there's 3 different steps. So let's just try and master at least 2 of the steps in today's lesson in our last activity. If you've already gotten to the end of the hour, then submit the first 5 tasks there. Okay? If not, then it'd be great for you to have a go at this now, which is really putting it into context with subjects. So you're going to do the same thing as we did before we're here, where you put them into the person with the verb. But now we're adding on a subject. So I love, we already know is j'adore. We put English after it, so be l'anglais. See if you could add a reason as well. Okay, so I've asked you to put the correct French, and an extension task would be to see if you can add a reason. So something like j'adore l'anglais parce que le prof est sympa. I like English because the teacher's nice, or something like that. So complete these. Don't forget we need the word the with each subject. See if you can add on a reason. And pause when you are ready. Okay, so for we hate RE, we should have nous for we, détestons with a we ending hate, la religion. And then you might have a reason, okay? He likes maths, il aime les maths. Il adore or elle adore, depending if it's a group of boys or girls. Elle adore le gallois. Elle déteste le dessin. And nous n'aimons pas le théâtre. So pause and check yours. Check you've got the correct person and check that your verb has the correct ending. If you've put E on the end of all of them, then you've simply taken the I form. You haven't put the right ending to match the person. Okay? If you've come to the end of the hour, you're almost there, then save your work you've done so far and submit that to add submission, please. If not, there is an extension task you can complete next. Okay, so if you have still got some time or you'd like to do some extra between now and next lesson, what I'd like you to do is write about 30 to 40 words about what you like and your friends and family's opinions on subjects as well, okay? So try to include more than one type of person, so some he sentences, some we sentences like we just did, and a range of opinions and reasons. So it's not all like, but you've got like, love, don't like, you've got funny, interesting, boring, whatever it is, okay? So for example, it might start off something like this. Mon frère aime le dessin. My brother likes art because he thinks it's fun. However, me and my friend Harry, we hate art because we have too much homework, whatever it is. Okay, so that's just an example you could use to adapt. Okay, try and get to about 30 to 40 words. Just like this example here. Okay, so well done, Year 8, fantastic work as usual. Make sure you submit everything you've done so we can see how everyone is getting on.